Good evening and welcome to a little analysis and trade plan here for Apple going forward into the next couple of weeks or so. Earnings are coming up at the end of the month on April 30th, so I do have a couple of weeks and able to go ahead and take a trade. Maybe I'll take something for earnings, but it's really going to be a crapshoot as far as how they actually perform on earnings. Tim Cook's already come out and then they've said they're not sure that people are going to have the money to buy new iPhones. A lot of companies are postponing their new product releases. Apple, I believe, is doing the same thing. So that could be a headwind going into, or at least coming out of this upcoming earnings report. Now, I mentioned on Twitter the other day, when the market sells off like this and more bad news keeps coming out and it keeps coming out, keeps coming out, but the market is not selling off, it's likely because the sell-off was just an overreaction to the downside. Once the bad news comes out and it no longer causes more selling, the majority of that's priced in. Same thing on the flip side. If the market has run up very far, you keep getting good news out, good news out, good news out, but the market doesn't seem to respond positively, it's probably overreacted to the upside. So keep in mind that the market is always forward looking. So I know there's a lot of bears that say the market's still set up for another steep drop. I've heard, on CNBC, the talking heads and some of their analysts saying the S&P 500 could come down to 1500. As soon as they come out with some outlandish drop like that, if that's their idea, huge red flag at the bottom is very close to being in, if not already in, especially, when you have Jim Cramer saying don't touch stocks. I mean, that's also a major contraindicator in my opinion. So anyways, with that said, going forward here, I do have the major drops here in Apple highlighted still. Back here is a 45% drop, 31, 39, and we completed a 34, about a 35% drop here from recent all-time highs. And while it does look bad, if you're looking at the daily time frame and it looks very weak, you zoom out here, Apple is a powerhouse company. They probably will withstand this coronavirus shutdown, although, as I've said before, it's going to impact at least 2 quarters of earnings for pretty much every company in the world. Once everything is back up and running, then we look forward to that third, that fourth, that fifth round of reports, because when you invest, you don't invest for next month. You don't invest for 3 months or 6 months from now. You invest for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, depending on your time horizon. So intraday moves up and down don't really matter much to those participants with big money and looking for longer term positions. So with that said, these drops have happened in the past and we'll probably have another one in the near future. Hopefully it won't be for another year or two, although this one has only been a little over a year since the last one. Previously we went 1, 2.5 roughly, we'll call it about 3 years total. 2.5 to 3 years right here between the two significant drops. So maybe we're resetting for another climb up to all-time highs if the market, as I said, is already priced in all the negative news. Unemployment came out yesterday. Market seemed to react positively. They like what the Fed is doing apparently. They like what Trump is doing. They like, whatever the market seems to be liking, they're putting their money to work. I mean, there were a lot of companies, as I've said in my past few videos, a lot of companies that were trading at very, very nice discounts and were investable, at least in my opinion, offering great dividends. So hopefully some of the cooler heads out there were able to put some money to work in the market and have captured some of this move up higher. So anyways, with that said, Apple is now, let's see how far off of lows. We are about 27% off of lows, so pretty nice bounce so far. What generally has happened, at least the last few times here for Apple, significant sell-off, and it bounces up and it chops sideways for a while. So until we get some guidance as far as what the actual impact of the coronavirus was, I expect us to go sideways for a while. Same thing that happened back here. We had our initial pop-ups or some consolidation. That earnings popped us up and then it went sideways. So we're currently in a little bit of a different environment because there's still some uncertainty as far as what the overall impact is. We know, Apple stores were closed. They're delaying product releases, all that good stuff. So you just have to wait and see what the numbers actually come out like. Now, there is a chance that we do come back down and retest these lows. I'm not saying that's impossible. It is a probable, or at least a possible scenario. But what I'm looking for is just a simple pullback here for a quick trade. I'm not looking to join any trend because I believe this trend is actually potentially finished, and it may just go sideways. So I'm just looking for a couple of technical trades here. At the 8 and 21 EMAs, I'm looking for some 260 calls about 2 weeks in the future. And at the 200 SMA, this purple line, I'm looking at 255 calls. Now this one I am looking at going past earnings simply because it should be a stronger level on the chart. Overall target for either of these positions is going to be right up here around 270. It's going to be an initial target, and then above there we have the 50 SMA right here around 280. So I'll go ahead and draw a line there as well. So if I do get a pullback, it'd be a nice little bounce here. This blue line that I have on my chart, if you're wondering, is the monthly 8-period exponential moving average. As you can see, it has dipped below it in the past, and it seems to hold a bit of power, at least in a sense that once price action does reclaim it, it seems to go back on about its business and continuing the trend up much higher. Closed above it, continued to run, closed above it, had a little bit of a back test here and continued to run. So maybe we're doing the same thing here. This is still an inside month, so we could have quite a bit of chop here into the next couple of weeks until earnings comes out, and ultimately that's going to determine what Apple actually does. So again, just looking for a quick trade here. Have not taken any new trades in Apple for quite a while now. Just kind of had it on the back burner. Been focused on a lot of other things and getting positions for a much longer term time horizon. So back to actively trading Apple for now, and we'll see what happens going forward into their earnings. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. Have a good Easter weekend. Enjoy your time with some family, and stay safe and healthy.